World Insight. Wuhan, once the coronavirus hotbed, now the hot place for parties. A look at life after lockdown and what to watch out for. And a bridge between East and West. Celebrity investor Jim Rogers, along with his daughter Happy, tells us about cultural understanding in a time of turbulence.
It is madness what's happening in Washington. China and America should be friends and be great prosperity together.
Here's our host, Tian Wei.
Hello and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei, on CGTN. We begin today's program in the central Chinese city of Wuhan. It was the epicenter of COVID-19 in China, but now it's ground zero from the pandemic to partying. With flashing lights and blaring dance music, scores of people converged on a pool party last weekend at Wuhan's Maya Beach water park, months after the city's lockdown was lifted in April. The city of 11 million people was under lock and key in January, leaving streets deserted and residents observing strict social distancing rules, a far cry from the weekend's festivities. While other cities around the world grapple with rising COVID-19 cases amid ongoing lockdowns, Wuhan has not reported a local case since mid-May. For more on Wuhan Wave, we are joined by Xu Beibei in Wuhan. He's an associate professor at Huazhong Agricultural University who has been with us in several programs talking to us about the updates in Wuhan. And also joining us, Liu Baocheng in Beijing, Dean of the Center for International Business Ethics from University of International Business and Economics. Well, I have to say, welcome to the program. Beibei, did you go to that party?
I'm sorry, no. Yeah, I read the news, but I don't know. So because there were a lot of people, in the pool, and they were not wearing masks, and they were so close to each other, which I have a little bit doubt. To my experience, nowadays people are still people in Wuhan are still wearing masks every day. Although not all of them, but most of the people, especially in a place which there are a lot of people, and especially in public transportation. So people are cautious about this, coronavirus. So I have a little bit doubt about it.
But certainly they got some hot music there.
Yeah, I wish we could, have such activities more often in our daily lives. Nowadays, lives in Wuhan are back to normal, so we can go shopping freely. We can even go to movie theaters, and we can go to supermarkets to buy whatever we want. So everything is normal, except for that. We have a regular checking of the health QR code, and also you need to, if you go to pretty congested places, you even have to have your temperature tested. So that's kind of different from what we had in before the COVID-19.
How frequent are the tests? Who are sponsoring the tests? Who is paying for the tests? And who are organizing the tests? What is the latest test you're having? In order to see whether Wuhan was still infected, throughout the city, so we have a kind of free test of the coronavirus, I think several months ago. And the result was pretty nice because we only found nearly or around 300 asymptomatic patients. So this indicated that Wuhan was pretty safe since the lift of the lockdown, and we were very happy about that. And for the the thermal test,
we don't need to pay them, you know. So it's pretty free, and it's just, you know,
it's sponsored by the government in a way, and it's free of charge
yeah, I
for
think
everyone.
So.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Very interesting phenomenon there. And also tell me about how you are doing in terms of your life, because you're teaching. Is the school going to open as usual? And also how you are interacting with your students before the semester opens.
Yeah, so we had an announcement from the school about the back-to-school days. So I can speak for my university because I just got the announcement. So they ask students to go back to school before the start of the semester, which is on September the 9th. Okay, so students can pick up a date they wish since October 25th. October 25th. Okay. So there are several procedures which need them to fulfill or to accomplish before going back to school. For example, they need to, first of all, apply for a health QR code, and then the code should be green. And also, they need to have their temperature tested every day for 14 days prior to the back-to-school date. Otherwise, they are not allowed to go into the university.
You and I have been talking on and off since the very beginning of the lockdown. I remember we were doing so many Zoom sessions over the past few months. Tell me about your personal take of what you have gone through. And tell me also about people around you, how they reflect upon this very unique period of time. Certainly challenging, but at the same time, rewarding in a way.
Yes, as you have just mentioned that, people in Wuhan have been facing still, have been facing the calamities, not only the COVID-19, but also the flooding, okay? So, the lives have been changed due to these calamities. We had hard time during the crisis. For example, we couldn't go out to buy food. But however, there are people who support us, who care about us.
From the very beginning, a tragedy, to today, in a way, a celebration of life inside that city. Many say the people there are heroic, but you could see from Beibei's own story, people are ordinary people, and yet they are doing as much as they can to help themselves and also to help others. Professor Liu, tell me about your reaction to this interesting story, very much circulating on the social media, this pool party in Wuhan. When you saw it, what went through your mind?
Well, Wuhan gave me a picture of disaster for almost 3 months. During the lockdown, and people talk about it, people are crying, and there are also a lot of rumors, diaries, etc. And I was also astonished that they could really lift the lockdown in early April. And then there have been lingering prejudices against people from Wuhan for job opportunities in other parts of the country. And also that investors, visitors are still very hesitant to go to Wuhan immediately after the lift of lockdown. But right now, the doubts and clouds are getting more and more dispersed. And I think this event, music event, is really showing to the world the confidence that the Wuhan people have gained. And it is not only the psychologically confident, but rather realistically safe. Right. So this is a very strong message sent to the world, sent to the tourists, the investors, and business people.
Right.
The life is back to normal, and vitality of production and the consumption is there, rehabilitated and ready to go.
Okay. You see the city government have been making its utmost effort to make sure the rest of the world know Wuhan is safe, as in their words, ultra safe than all the other cities around the world, they say, at least against COVID-19. And then you also see entrepreneurs from all over China making their trips to Wuhan, trying to figure out what kinds of business opportunities they can create. Online, you see these kinds of auctions, which is quite popular these days in China, for anything about Wuhan, all the products coming from there, all the products coming from Hubei. There's national support for what's going on inside that city, inside the province. So in a way, it's very much heartwarming, but at the same time assuring that we are together, could be coming back to normal. Professor Liu, as an economist, how do you take all of these messages?
Well, Wuhan people, went through the crisis with bravery and also with the support of all sorts of people, from medical staff to volunteers, etc. So that shows a very strong unity within this nation, a sense of sympathy, a sense of empathy, and a sense of unity. So this is a very strong national spirit that has went to the test of time, the test of those challenges. And right now, Wuhan as the center of attention from around the globe, that they are doing a far better homework than people have anticipated. And this is also a very strong evidence and best practice to the world that are still fighting for the coronavirus. And it also has a very strong symbolic value that China is doing the right type of homework when the people in the world, particularly some hawkish people, are saying, well, China must be abusing its data because it's too good to be true. And now it is good and it is true.
China been talking about this dual circulation, as we talked before, circulation of economy inside the country, internal, and also external with the rest of the world. How do you see the balance right now between the two? And what does the Wuhan story tell us about it?
China is a very important part of the global supply chain. And right now, we have experiencing a very strong challenge around the world, not only from the lockdown by different countries, but rather also the strong protectionism that is being backed. So therefore, it is really a timely decision for the Chinese central government to decide on the dual circulation, where we are still pushing the envelope around the world to build a better channel and a larger market for Chinese exports. But in the meantime, China is able, given its large market and rising consumption, so to support another internal circulation of all the factors of production around China. And Wuhan is really one very important logistic hub, and also it's a center for innovation, and it plays a very important role to connect the far west and the eastern part of China. And it is also a very important springboard to support the Midwest China for poverty alleviation and also for economic rejuvenation.
Maybe Wuhan is a great example of that, Beibei, because as you can see over the past few weeks, both Wuhan and Hubei have opened up its national parks. anyone from all over China, anywhere in the world can travel to Wuhan and travel to Hubei, go to those parks free of charge, museums too. So it seems that it's trying to revive people's confidence in tourism in Wuhan. What's your observation?
I haven't been to the tourist sites, nowadays, but I heard the news about these free tickets to enter these tourist sites. To my observation, I haven't been to the tourist sites, but I've been to the riverside banks.
Right.
riverside
Beautiful there, by the
parks.
way. Cherry blossom,
Yes.
the best.
Yes, especially the live show.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of people, it's kind of like a normal, like human traffic, okay? So I think join these people, I think a lot of people are coming from outside of Wuhan or outside the province, and I hope they enjoy their stay at Wuhan.
Having said that, though, it's not just about the service and tourism. It's also about how to revive Wuhan, but also thrive, as a result of the earlier challenges and overcoming of the earlier challenges. We see, Professor Liu, now Wuhan, the city itself, has been advocating as an innovation center. That's interesting, isn't it? But you also see, in fact, quite a number of high-tech companies from China have been trying to establish their regional headquarters in Wuhan now. Of course, partly in support to Wuhan after the crisis. But at the same time, they do see the business opportunity there. Professor Liu, how should we understand, where Wuhan is and how, with its earlier economic and business environment, will be able to support an era of innovation in the middle part of China?
Well, Wuhan has been the most important, I should say, industrial city since a century ago, where the Westernization movement was available. And it still has a very solid, heavy industry over there in terms of steel making, in terms of the machineries. And now with the optical valley that is there, it produces a lot of the high technologies. And even during the pandemic, you see that the dozens, thousands of new patents have been generated. And it is really a center for innovation with the small and medium-sized businesses with unique and proprietary technology over there. They position themselves as a center of innovation in terms of the high-tech manufacturing, in terms of the new invention, and also that in the assembly lines of the automaking of the computers, etc. And so right now it is very important that the whole supply chain in the world are also looking at Wuhan, because the stockpile is getting a high time for replenishment, and Wuhan is there back to work. And more, I think, more fundamentally, Wuhan has the largest number of universities and university students, which produce continuous supply of high-skilled labor force and also innovation power to the city.
I guess that's quite a message to Beibei, to you and your students, right, from your university, that they could have more opportunities for jobs, and particularly in the high-tech area.
Yes. Actually, I'm quite grateful for these people who helped us, especially those, companies or like banks. They support students in Wuhan. I had a high school senior who helped me get connected with the Ningbo Bank, the Beijing branch. They provided a special, they had a special post for Wuhan students. And I passed this good news to my college, the College of Foreign Languages, and then several students applied to such like a post designed for Wuhan students, and then one of them, get in, So I really appreciate all these kind of opportunities provided by these warm-hearted companies and provided by these kind entrepreneurs, and then not only me but also Wuhan people are feeling appreciated and grateful for what people from outside of Wuhan provided to us and what they helped us.
And you know what, Bebe, anyone outside Wuhan also grateful for what the people in Wuhan have been achieving, have been done. And also you are inspiration for all of us, particularly at a very difficult time. And I guess for the rest of the world. Having said that, though, I really want to ask you that question, Bebe, because there were rumors about whether numbers are correct in Wuhan. There were rumors about, what is really happening right now in the city. Despite what we just discussed, there are always doubts. There's always conspiracy theories. And also there's various comments about how China has managed to achieve its relative success so far against COVID-19, with Wuhan as an example. So, Bebe, when you heard people talk about this, when you get onto the internet and look at some of the social media tweets, how do you react to these rhetorics as someone in Wuhan who experienced everything?
I found these kind of news pretty silly or silly jokes. And the people who are tweeting or who are posting these kind of news haven't been to Wuhan.
That's true.
Okay, they haven't seen a real Wuhan. But I'm a person who's been in the Wuhan ever since the lockdown, and I'm feeling quite furious because they're lying. They're talking about something that they are dreaming, and they're kind of like a fantasizing. So this is not really good. To my own experience, I think the numbers or the figures are accurate because I do have people around me, and then I do heard several cases of infection. And I had one piece of news from someone who is close to my mother who passed away. But, that's only a very small fraction of what was happening or what has been happening in Wuhan. So I have so many friends, so many relatives, so many neighbors, but I heard only one case of this tragedy. So I think the numbers are accurate to my own experience. Okay, and also I think the success of Wuhan is no doubt because we have a very, very strict procedures. We have very strict precautions, not only like medically, but also from our own heart. So people are cautious about being infected, so they always wear masks. And then, especially, I do remember when the subways were open, people were sitting not next to each other, but there were like vacancies between people. Okay, people deliberately avoid contact with others. Okay, so I think due to all these precautions and due to the stricter restrictions, and we had such a success, and that is no doubt.
Well, final words also from you, Professor Liu, from Wuhan to the rest of China. This is only a starting point. This is just the very beginning of the reset, isn't it? How do you see this reset going to be? To what degree it will be challenging, but at the same time, it will be able to revive all the energies and creations and creativities in a way among the population?
I think ideologically, Chinese people have learned a way as how to preserve their health, but in the meantime, they go for economic activities and cultural activities with precaution. And the central government has now a general plan for rehabilitatory recovery. So over the year, we noticed that the first quarter was a nightmare, and second quarter was a recovery, and now we are stepping into the third quarter, which is a strong recovery, I should say. And by the end of the year, we may deliver some surprise, happy surprise or delight to the world and to our own Chinese people that, we, on the condition that we preserve the health and they contain the spread of the COVID-19, but economically, people can enjoy a more moderate prosperity, and more importantly, all people in China will be lifted out of the poverty line.
We'll see how we are going to finish that task in China. Thank you so much for both of you. Beibei, say hi to your girlfriend and also to your family. Thank you so much. Xu Beibei in Hubei for us in Wuhan. And Professor Liu Baocheng, thank you for your insights too. Stay with us here on World Insight. Still to come on the program, a bridge between East and West. Celebrity investor Jim Rogers, along with his daughter Happy, tells us about cultural understanding in a time of turbulence.
But then I quickly found out that the Chinese are cultured, educated, ambitious, hardworking. And then I realized, well, China's the next great country in the world.
Welcome back. You're still watching World Insight with me, Tian Wei. And today, let's continue our special series, Pathfinder, on China-U.S. relations. The world has changed rapidly, but many find themselves in bind due to a failure to understand one another in international relations. Some people, like world-famous investor Jim Rogers, seem to know how to roll with the times. Mr. Rogers has long been curious about cultural differences. Back in 1988, a young and brash American boy spent 36 days on his motorcycle traveling from Shanghai to Pakistan. He had his long ride filmed, and the journey gave him a first-hand experience with China that was then very remote to the Western world, especially to the United States. Later on, he settled down in Singapore and had 2 daughters. And both of them, in fact, learned speaking Mandarin really well. Earlier, I had the pleasure of hosting Mr. Rogers and his elder daughter, Happy Rogers, who is quite a celebrity now already on Chinese social media. Our conversation went from relations between China and the United States to cultural exchanges between 2 countries. It all started from a poem from the Tang Dynasty.
解落三秋叶，能开2月花。过江千尺浪，入竹万竿斜。It's called.
Jim, I think we should applaud.
I know, I agree. I don't speak Chinese.
Great job.
I think it perfectly captures nature's beauty, and it's very four very short lines.
Oh my God, do you feel pressure?
No,
Don't
no,
you
no.
feel pressure?
I know that I'm hopeless. I know that I'm
Daddy,
hopeless.
you're not
But
hopeless.
but one of the things I've learned a lot of Chinese culture from them. But all these Tang Dynasty poems and so on, they're so short and to the point, and they say a lot. It's amazing. There's so many of them. I didn't know that before.
Concise and precise.
Yes.
Exactly, through the poetry of China. But, one of the things people are so fascinated by your family is, you are well known for being a wild guy. You ride motorcycles throughout the world, and certainly a very successful investor. But, your life has reached a stage that you care so much about your family, and your family are absolutely fascinated by the Chinese culture. How is it?
Well, I realized when I came to China in the 80s that China would be the next great country in the world. And I used to tell people, teach your children Mandarin. And then I had one. So what do I do now? So, but as you can see, we moved to Asia because of China. Both of my daughters speak fluent Mandarin. The little one is just now in a Chinese movie.
Oh my
As a matter of fact, what's the name of it?
天火, and it's fabulous.
See, the sister is already doing some publicity.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no, but she's 10 years old, and they called us. We didn't call them. The producer called up and said, "We want your little girl to be on in the movie."
You speak Mandarin.
Because they saw her speaking Mandarin on the internet or something. So no, we're everywhere. We love China. We come here a lot.
你好. Hi everyone. I'm Happy Rogers and I'm back. Today, my little sister, Lee Rogers, is going to be my guest star. She is going to be performing in Mandarin. 大家好，我的名字是快乐罗杰斯。今天，我的妹妹小蜜蜂要给大家表演。我的名字是小蜜蜂，我7岁。今天我要给你们表演馒头有个人。馒头有个人，手里拿个盆，砰的一声响，是盆碰了门，还是门碰了盆
If that was too fast for you.
门后有个人，手里拿个盆，砰的一声响，是盆碰了门，还是门碰了盆
That was a Chinese tongue twister that Bee learned at school.
Thank you. Bye. 再见。
1984, you came to China. Long time. Think about it, already 35 years.
Yeah, no, I was terrified when I came because American propaganda all my life had said the Chinese are evil, vicious, dangerous, bloodthirsty people. I got off the plane, I figured I was going to be murdered, you know. But then I quickly found out that the Chinese are cultured, educated, ambitious, hardworking. And then I realized, well, China's the next great country in the world. I better learn a lot more about China. And here she is.
When was the time you figure out this country is on the rise?
1988, I drove my motorcycle from Shanghai to Pakistan, all across China, and I was stunned every day. There were all these people working from dawn to dusk, in the fields, everywhere. Nobody stopped. They saved a lot of money. It was just astonishing to see everybody working all the time and being very ambitious and attentive.
Dad told you about those days?
Yeah,
Happy?
absolutely. He loves talking about his trips across China.
Well, they made a movie. I made a documentary of it, and I make her watch it.
All the time.
I make her watch the documentary.
Riding my bike across China is something I've wanted to do for as long as I can remember. I'm only going to live once. When I die, I don't want to have people say about me, well, Jim Rogers was a great Wall Street investor, and that's it. I want to get out there and see what's going on in the world. I got no wife, I got no children, no responsibilities. Why not? I think I really would have liked to have been a Pony Express rider. I'm doing this trip just for me. I don't care about being on television. I don't even have a television. It's my trip. 8,000 kilometers in 36 days from Shanghai to Pakistan. It's going to be the perfect adventure.
Things have changed so much. Certainly China has been on the rise for quite some time. And yet we see the relations, though, between China and the United States is in a stage of great change. Jim, I just wondered, as someone who came to this country who can read the Chinese minds, I have to say, what actually is going on here in this country? And how do you see this change?
It is madness what's happening in Washington. China and America should be friends and be great prosperity together, do great triumphs together. And for some reason, America has it in its, or some people, not everybody, some people in Washington have it in their heads that they need to bash China. I just don't understand it, because together, I mean, everywhere I've ever been in China, the Chinese love Americans. and America. They don't like Washington necessarily. I don't like Washington necessarily. But it's just amazing because together we could just do fabulous things together, and Washington keeps messing it up.
What can we hold on to in order to get over that stage, or the current stage?
I hope I survive it. We just keep your head down, don't get deep in debt, and don't get overextended.
That's what you're doing in your business, right?
That's what I'm doing in my business, in my private life, in my children's lives, everybody's lives. I'm trying not to get too extended.
Happy. Some say it is exactly your generation that the Americans do not necessarily see that their lives are necessarily better than their parents. Of course, you are in Asia. You see a very different picture. This is pretty much a continent still on the rise, in Singapore as well. How do you see those comments? Have you visited some parts of America? What have you noticed about that country? I mean, it's a country where you were born, but not necessarily where you are being raised up.
As often as I can, I visit my grandparents in North Carolina, and they live, and my mother was born there too. It's a very, very small town, only 50,000 or so people. And so I see that, I mean, you see New York City, which is huge and bustling and amazing, but then there are also smaller towns and smaller little tiny places that really are what America is about, because America isn't all, you know, like New York or Los Angeles.
Just like China isn't all about Beijing and Shanghai.
Yeah, exactly. You go to New York City, you haven't seen America. You go to Moscow, you haven't seen Russia. Do you think that your life was better, Daddy?
My life was better than my parents' lives, yes. There's no question about that.
Do you think my life was better than your life?
Well, you're only 15.
Yeah.
So far, your life when you're 15 is better when I was 15, that's for sure.
Ask us in a little bit.
And I just wonder about you. You know, you're already coming from a globalized generation. So what does that mean to you when you travel around Chinese universities, see and talk to your peers?
When we go to any new place or any new country that's different from, I grew up in Singapore or even America, it's like this perfect little melting pot of all the different cultures of the world, where I get to experience the different sides of the world and 开阔视野. You know, yeah, exactly. I am very blessed to be able to do that. And going to the Chinese universities, it's lovely because you see a different side. Even though Singapore education there are lots of tests and everything else, but it's nothing compared to here in China.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And Chinese universities, I would love to come to one of them when I'm 15, so I have a few years to think about it, thank goodness. But when I do have to decide, I'm definitely thinking about it, if only just because my Chinese will improve so much if I do come here.
You can see she is pretty much comfortable everywhere she goes.
Yeah, as I say, when she's 15, I had never been anywhere. I probably couldn't find China on a map when I was 15. She's been to all these places, and she speaks these languages, and has traveled everywhere. But no, it's an entirely different generation.
Many say, Happy, your generation is really a globalized generation. Wherever you go, you could feel comfortable, and you talk to your peers. They're coming from different cultures. But many wonder, Jim, I'm going to come back to you about that question too. Many wonder whether this will be the trend, because we see a lot of debates going on in the world about multilateralism or not, globalization or not. Happy, when you see those debates, whether it's on TV or over the dinner table between your father and their friends, from your generation, from your own perspective, what is it?
Globalization, modernization, everyone has a phone, 低头族, you know, that's what they say in Chinese, where everyone is always looking down. I mean, there are, of course, pros and cons to that, but globalization is just everywhere. But we also have to think about the fact that, well, I'm blessed, you're blessed, we're all blessed to be able to experience the benefits and the merits of globalization. There are some people who haven't been able to yet.
The risk, of course, is that throughout history, when things go bad, politicians blame foreigners. Doesn't matter which country, everywhere throughout history. Foreigners have different skin color, different language, different religion. They smell bad. Their food smells bad. I cannot tell you, wait, no, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard people say, and their food smells bad. I mean, it's astonishing. Politicians will stir up trouble.
Not just politicians. Everyone.
I understand, but politicians know how to feed it and make it worse, because when things are wrong, it's easy to blame somebody else. And it's going to be, when things get bad, you should be, I'm worried. You should be worried. I'm worried.
I think a lot in the world are worried.
I hope so. Maybe we can solve the problem if enough of us get worried.
You know, Jim, it's about two things. One is, how shall we understand the legacy that we have been creating together? I mean, many have been creating together. Secondly is, from now on, where are we moving to? And how can we get there?
Look out the window. The 21st century is going to be the century of China. This is not the direct question you asked. You said, where are we moving? We're moving to Asia, I assure you. And again, many Western countries are in decline. It's sad. I don't like saying it. I'm, you know, Western Caucasian. I don't like it at all. But I have to face facts. So make sure everybody learns Mandarin.
And you are too.
I mean, I'm hopeless.
What is the latest phrase you pick up?
I'm not smart enough to learn Mandarin. I'm not smart.
Which phrase should Dad learn?
Tell them the second thing you learned in China, not the first, the second thing, second phrase.
The Bing Pichu, because I was having so many problems. I learned cold beer, give me a beer. And it was hard to find. It was hard to find a cold beer in those days.
In those days, 35 years ago, yes, indeed. But, you know, today you could pretty much live comfortably anywhere in this country. But it's such a wonderful thing to have both of you, Happy and Jim, sitting here with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Happy. Yes. The stories of star investor Jim Rogers and his daughter Happy Rogers, who is a Chinese social media star. And that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more, try to find us World Insight or check out our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. I'm Tian Wei. On behalf of the team, thanks for watching.